yeah, there should be about 16, I think, people in this class when we finally get going, but several people haven't gotten all of their enrollment processes completed, so not everybody's going to be in tonight. So I'm going to do a makeup session for those that are for the late enrollees later in the week. Anyway, just for tonight, I'm going to keep this short because it's 8 o'clock and it's a Monday night and you have a long week of school ahead of you. The Zoom sessions will only be an hour. And if we have people that have a lot of questions, I'll stay on afterwards and you can ask your questions. I mean, if it's something that's particular to you, if it's just a general question that everybody would like to hear, go ahead and ask it. And when I start sharing my screen, I can't see your faces. It's not gonna be rude. You're not gonna be, go ahead and speak up and ask your question. You know, it's not rude and you're not interrupting. I can't see you if you're trying. The little yellow box around whoever's talking doesn't show up when I'm doing that. So anyway, I have some expectations for you for this course. You're now considered professionals instead of para-educators or paraprofessionals. You've stepped up the ladder one rung, which I think is pretty impressive. Taking a big leap. Just show of hands, how many are getting financial assistance from their districts? Okay, for those that aren't, I found last spring, I found a scholarship for people that are in hard to fill positions. It was special ed, elementary ed, math, science, I think it was those 4 areas. It was a $500 a semester. Now, I don't know what the paybacks or any of that was. I'll post that information or I'll have it for you so you can see it and download it next week, okay? But I know it's renewed every semester. And I think it's through the Board of Regents, but I can't remember right now. And I filed it in a file and I'll pull it up and I'll get it for you so that maybe that can give you some help. $500, would that pay for one course in a book maybe? Which would help. Yeah, it would be of help. So anyway, I'll see if I can't find it and get it for you and get it posted. And I have a note to myself already for that, so I won't forget. But anyway, you're professional, and I expect that you maintain confidentiality. Like if you're having an issue with a student or with a parent or a para or a teacher, I'm glad to hear about it, but I want you not to use their names. And I don't want you to use any identifying factors that would let them be identified by somebody else. That's just part of professionalism and confidentiality. There's a chain of command, and you have it in a school district. It's part of the negotiated agreement in every district and part of their professional policies. You know, and so the Hayes has one also, and it's in the syllabus. There's a link to it. But anyway, it's if you are dissatisfied with me and you and I try to resolve the problem and cannot, then the next person up the chain of command is Dr. Lubin, who's the program coordinator. And if you talk to her and you're still not satisfied, then the next person would be Dr. Moore. And if you're still not, well, and Dr. Moore is the interim department chair. And then the next person up the ladder would be Dr. Adams, the dean for the College of Education and Advanced Programs. So there's that chain of command, and it's the same thing in your school districts. And if you step out of that chain of command in your school districts and bypass a step, they can write you up for insubordination, which is the first step for termination of your contract. So you need to learn your chain of command. You have a disagreement with the teacher and you two can't settle it, then you go to your immediate supervisor, and then you just keep following up. You never go to the school board or to the superintendent first. You always follow that chain because that's your professional responsibility. And so a lot of the things that I'm going to tell you when we're going through this whole class is not just stuff that's in the syllabus and not stuff that is particular to this course. It's information that you need to know to protect yourself for your job. Because, you know, I think it's real important. There's a lot of little unwritten rules that teachers need to know that it's the worst way to find out is trial by fire. So I'll try to protect you for some of those fires. Okay. Okay. So other than chain of command, you're all doing special education, you're all doing IEPs, and there's a prior written notice form that you have to notify parents 10 days ahead of time for a meeting that, you know, there's a form you have to send out to them. just like you wouldn't not show up at one of those meetings or not show up at a faculty meeting, you have to notify your administrator or whoever your supervisor is that you're not going to be there. You're going to practice that with this class. I cannot and will not and do not expect you to attend every Zoom session. I want you to. I hope you gain information from attending the Zoom sessions, but I don't require attendance. I don't give points for them. If you can't be here because you've got family, you've got school, you've got there's so many other things going on in your life. If you can't be here, I do expect a brief email. You don't need to tell me why, just I won't be at the Zoom session, And then I do expect you to watch the video that I'll post, because I'll record it and put the video up for you to see. And then if you have questions after you've watched the video, be sure you let me know, okay? So that's just part of that professionalism that goes with it. As far as emails go, I try to answer emails within 24 hours. It's rare that I don't. But in the subject line of the email, you need to write 806 VC, because that's your section for this class. And that way I can look at, and if it's a question about a grade, or you need a quiz reset or something like that, then I know which class section to open up, because I'm teaching 5 sections, not just of this class, but 5 sections total. So that way I can just click it. It just makes it quicker and easier for me. If I don't answer an email in 24 hours, you can rest assured I didn't get it. So send it again. Check the address and send it again. Because I check my emails morning, most of the times around lunch, and then again in the evening. And I try to reply back really quick, because I feel like that's my responsibility as being the instructor. If you have a question, you need help, I need to be available to give you that help. So if I don't answer, I didn't get it. The only exception to that is if I do national accreditation, and when I'm on those visits, I'll tell you when I'm going to be gone, and that I'll only get to check emails late at night, but I'll still check them every day. Okay. Be sure have you all got your Fort Hays email address?
Yes.
And have you tried it? Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay. Check it at least once a week. Okay. All of the instructors on campus, like Mrs. Firestein, that's going to teach the other class that you're taking, aren't you taking school law, special ed law, something like that, whatever the title is? Yeah. She'll use your Fort Hays email, and so will I. So all the way through the programs, you're going to be using your Fort Hays email. So get used to checking it, using it when you're sending messages to instructors. And part of that is because if there ever becomes a dispute and it's gone through Fort Hays email, there's a record of it there. So it protects you and it protects the instructors both, which is part of like on your job. If you send an email to a parent, save a copy of their reply. I had a folder on, well, I just created a folder for each kid that I had on my caseload, and I saved all of the emails there. And then I had a spreadsheet, and every kid, you know how to create tabs on the bottom of the spreadsheet to get new pages? Does anybody not know how to do that? Okay, I created a tab, and so I kept it running. Like every time a parent called me, I had the first column was the date, second column was the time, and the third column was contact method, and then the fourth one is I wrote a blurb about what we talked about. And I kept that from the time I got that student until 5 years after they left my program. So just, I mean, because that way you have a record of what's happened. It's just protection for you. And if the parent says, I never talked to you, I never got this, well, you can pull that up and say, well, on such and such a date we talked about this, and on such and such a date we talked about this, or you sent this note on this date, and you know, I replied back. So it's just protection for you that you are doing your job and that you're communicating with parents and keeping them informed, which is really important. You need to have all those assurances that you can, that you're doing your job and doing it well. Okay, so anyway, so check your Hays email. Okay, this is a graduate level class, and I expect graduate level writing. No text language. The discussion boards are graded partly on your writing skills. And we'll talk a little bit more about discussion boards in a minute, but anyway, So you're gonna learn APA, the American Psychological Association Writing Method. And I have to be honest, I did not learn it until I was working on my doc program, because everything I had done and everything they do in the school districts is MLA, is the one that the other side of the world uses. And so it's a learning process. Anyway, I'm going to share my screen with you. I have to look to see which screen it is. Okay, can you see a Word document with some bullets on it? That's what. Okay. Okay. So the first thing so next week is this week is week 1, and so I'm not going to review the syllabus tonight. We'll do it next week. But look through the syllabus, because the syllabus about halfway down has all of the assignments and the due dates written into it, the chapters you're supposed to read. Okay, then you're going to do a little bit on how to avoid plagiarism, how to write an APA, and then maintaining balance. And then there's a quiz that goes with it. And so that quiz is called success. I lost it. First, or components. Oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. Anyway, it's on the Start Here page of Blackboard. Oh, good grief. Okay, it's program success. Okay. So you open, can you see my Blackboard page? Did it flip over for you? Okay. Oh, it would help if I were in the right course. I was working on a different one between videos. Can you still see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you go clear to the bottom, there's a quiz. That quiz is 25 questions, and it's mostly over APA formatting. Just to give you practice on it, it does not count for your grade at all. It is
Thank
just.
goodness I already did it.
Pardon?
I said, thank goodness, because I already took the quiz.
Well, you can take it as many times as you want to, just to keep practicing if you want to. Yeah, it's okay. You know, the first time, actually, Dr. Moore is the one that created that quiz. She's the one that taught this class before I did, and I looked at it the first time and went, wow, I don't know about that quiz. But anyway, yeah. So, okay, so can you see back to the Word document now?
Yeah.
Is it true? Sometimes when I flip on sharing screens, it doesn't always, I have to stop sharing and reshare. So anyway, so that quiz is 25 points that's not calculated in your grade. Take it as many times as you want to. It's really good if you can get above a 90%. So just use it as a practice tool. And, you know, it'll help you, I think, later on. So, and then weeks 2 and 3. Okay, so first of all, I didn't say earlier, this is an 8 weeks class. We get done mid-October. Did you all know that? Okay, this is a quick 8-week class. So it's pretty intense. There's a lot to do, but it only lasts for 8 weeks, and then you're done. And then the only class you focus on is your school law or special ed law class. So if you can hang in until mid-October, you'll be great. Okay? Anyway, so weeks 2 and 3, we're going to talk about MTSS and IEPs. Weeks 4 to 6 is the focus is on literacy and all of the parts of literacy, the language, spelling, reading, writing. And weeks 7 and 8 is math and content learning. There is not a final in this class. Okay? Is that, I see smiles. Okay, okay, so you guys, this semester is my guinea pig semester. I'm going to try something different. I've been doing some reading on spiral curriculum. So there's 2 main assignments that you do in this class. One of them is an instructional plan that you do for a student, and the other one is an IEP. And I have case study students that you use. You don't use real people. Anyway, the demographics part is the same thing on the IEP, is the same thing as the overview on the instructional plan. Then the gap analysis of the instructional plan is based on the present levels of functional performance, achievement and functional performance off the IEP. So we're going to go back and forth and do part of the paper, part of the IEP, and I'll grade each one. You're going to submit them as a draft, and I'll grade it and give you feedback, not grade it. I will give you very detailed feedback on it. And we'll keep going back and forth until you have the whole thing done, and you'll submit it at the end. So by the time you submit it to me, you will have have turned in 3 times for the assignment. So you're going to come out with a decent grade, and you're going to come out with a good quality IEP and a good instructional plan. Now, the instructional plan that you do is what you naturally think of and do with the kids that you're working with every day, only you don't write it all down. The instructional plan is like, okay, so I know this kiddo has this goal. What do I need to do in order to reach that goal? What kinds of strategies do I want to use with him? What do I want to teach him? How does he need to learn? That's the instructional plan. So it's the stuff that you think about on your job to work with your kids, but this time you're actually having to write it down so somebody else can see it. And everything that you do comes out of the textbook. And I don't often recommend that people save textbooks because they get outdated so fast. But the textbook you're using for this class, you guys have this one? You have this edition, which is the 8th. Okay. So if you go to the back of this book, it's really cool. There's an index back here, and I don't know what page it starts on. Like 560 something. 561. Anyway, even before you, if you've got the book and you're trying to figure out something to do right now in the classroom, all of the strategies in this book are evidence-based. They are built on research, so they're proven to work if you follow them with fidelity. But the back of it is just a listing of all of the different techniques and strategies that are in this book. So every chapter has 5 or 6 pages to read that tell you about the content area. Like there's a chapter on spelling, and so there's 5 or 6 pages to read on spelling. And then the whole rest of the chapter is just on techniques and strategies to use with spelling. So if you're at a loss of something to do with your students at school, or you're trying to figure out something, look in this book. It's really, really good. I wish I'd written it, but I didn't. Anyway, so that's a book. That's one that I definitely would hang on to for later. So do you all have your books?
I ordered mine. It's on its way.
Okay, did you order them through the bookstore, or did you order them through Amazon? Or for the bookstore?
Bookstore, but I just rented it.
Okay, and I know you can do that because it's a lot less expensive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I really think I would invest in this one. I've taught 5 different classes in the program, and this is the only one I would hang on to myself personally. So the thing that you might do before you've rented it is the strategies that you found as we go through the book and you're making plans and stuff, the ones that you think are useful. Can't you print from that electronic book? Like do a hard print? Like you can do a screen print, right? A hard copy screen print. If you've opened it on your computer.
Yeah.
The ones that you think are beneficial and useful and you might want to keep in a file, I would do that with them because I think it's really a good book. So anyway, so back to the class. So there's 5 quizzes that you're going to do. The first quiz is on instructional practices, and then the second one is on the processes of the IEP. Then you're going to do language and then reading and then math. So there's 5 quizzes, and there were 50 points apiece. That's not right. There were 30 points apiece. I'm sorry. And you need to have 26 out of 30 to have a B for graduate school, because you've got to maintain a B average or B through your classes to have them count for grad school. So the policy for special ed programs is if you don't have a B on a quiz, you can retake it until you earn up to a B. So if you get lower than 26, you have to email or request to me saying, can I please retake this quiz? Would you reset it or something to that effect? And then I'll reset it so you can take it again. And then, but you can't even, let's say you take it the first time and you get a 23 and you take it the second time and you get a 27. You're not going to get a 27. I'm only going to give you 26 because that's the bottom B. That's the 85%. Okay? And your papers and the IEP that you do, because you're going to submit them in draft forms all the way through, you should be in good shape at the end, because I will have given, and if you implement that feedback every time, you should come out just fine. Okay? But more than the grade, I want you to learn how to write quality IEPs that are really pertinent and appropriate for your kiddos. I want you to know how to use evidence-based strategies, and I want you to be able to think about what skills do they need, and where do I find those? Where do I find materials to use those skills for? Those skills, what kind of materials do they use to do that? So, any questions about that? Okay, then there's some discussion board things to do. And so this week you're going to introduce yourself on discussion board, and you reply to 2 other people. And there's some very specific directions and a scoring rubric. And this is one of the things, Dr. Lubin is the one I really hate to give other people credit, but darn it, she did it. So I have to show you hers. Let me see. Nope. As soon as I find it, it's on the syllabus. I gotta find my syllabus I have open first. And move it over here so I can see it. I need another monitor. I have 2 and it's not enough. Okay, now I can share. Okay, so this is what the syllabus looks like. On the phone number here, can you see that? That is my Hayes office, and if you call that, it takes it a little bit of time. I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 hours. But anyway, it forwards it that your voice. Leave a voice message because it forwards the voice message to me into the email as a message, and so I can reply and call you back, or I can respond to you in email. Either way. But anyway, go ahead and leave your message or your question. Okay, so I'm going to show you these rubrics. Okay, so this is the rubric for the IEP assignment, and it's kind of long because there's lots of parts to it and lots of things involved. And to me, that doesn't mean as much as if I go further down and I look at, oh, I had to take them out because it was too long. Never mind, let me try something different. Sorry, I really am usually a little bit more organized than this. Let me get it downloaded and I'll share again. Well, it didn't share. There, it's going to open. Okay. Let me stop sharing and reshare. Okay. So this is like the IEP, this is the grading rubric. This is the part for the program and the State Department. You need to see this part at the top, but it's not very specific for me. It doesn't help me as much, but this is what I think really helps me. Because when I go through and I start grading your assignments, it says student demographics are completed. That's worth 10 points. Only the required participants are at the IEP. That's 10 more points. So it's got, everything is broken down line by how many points each one of those sections is worth. So you know exactly what to address in your assignment. Does that make sense to you? And I really like that format. So anyway, so that's so be sure you look at that when you're submitting an assignment to make sure you hit all those. And there's one for the discussion board. We revamped it a little bit this summer. So the discussion boards are worth 50 points. There's 3 discussion boards. There's the introduction and then there's 3 more. So there's 3. So anyway, there's lots of stuff like that it's helpful to see and do when you're looking at it. So what you need to be doing is you need to go to Start Here. Did I get it shared? I didn't get it shared. Start Here, go to the bottom, do the program success component, and then you take the quiz. And then there's a discussion board where you introduce yourself. There's already 20 things on there. You guys are amazing. You've already been in there and doing it, working on it. Good for you. anyway, that's pretty much the class. We're going to do the IEPs in project instead of, I know in reality in your classrooms, you're doing the basic guts of writing the IEP. You're doing the present levels of performance yourself. You're doing the demographics yourself, what doesn't transfer over from the former IEP. And you're going to put in like the reading functioning, their math functioning, their state assessment scores from last year, reading rates, like curriculum-based measurements for math and reading, you know, social skills, how they get along with kids. But that document, even though you prepare that stuff ahead of time, it's only a draft. It's not formalized and finalized until the parents have signed off on it. And during that meeting, when you have that IEP meeting, everybody else is going to provide input into what you started to create a more formal, finished, more robust document. So we're going to do IEPs in pairs. And I don't think anybody has written an IEP solo yet. Am I right? So we're going to, if we do it, 2 heads are always better than 1. And, you know, in real life, if you have an OT person working with your student, or a speech person working with your student, or physical therapy, or whomever, you have to work together to get that IEP done. And sometimes, like out here in Western, because I'm in Scott City, out here, our PT and OT people come from Colorado Springs once a month. And so working with them ahead of time to get their part into the IEP and get it written and all that, we do it by Zoom. And so you guys can do Zooms, you know, to work with each other. You can use Google Hangouts. You know, you can call, you can, however you want to work, but you're going to work in pairs to do the IEP. Okay? So it's because collaboration is the name of the game when it comes to special education. The 2 words that I think I associate with special education the most are collaboration and flexibility. Because I don't care what plan you have walking in for the beginning of the day, if one student's in crisis, the whole day is different than what you planned for it to be. And if you are rigid and you're not very flexible, it makes it really stressful for you. If you say, okay, plans were meant to be broken, we always have a plan B, and go with plan B. It makes your life a lot easier. Okay, so we've got 30 minutes left. I said I wouldn't keep you more than an hour. Because you guys are going to take classes together all the way through. You're cohort 3, I think, maybe? I think so. I think you're cohort 4. Anyway, you'll be with the same people in classes, and in almost every class there's a group project that you'll have to do and work together. So I think this is the time to get to know each other a little bit. I know I was chatting with some of you that logged in earlier, but I want everybody to be able to hear who you are, where you are, and what do you want to get out of this class. And I'm going to start with Jana.
I'm in Park City, Kansas. I work in Valley Center. What do I want to get out of this class? I want to know how to do a good IEP.
Good. What's your
forced into doing it?
Okay.
Baptized by fire.
Okay, so how far is it from Park City to where you?
6 miles.
Oh, that's not a big commute. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Drew?
Hi, Drew Needham from Osawatomie, Kansas. I'd say the biggest thing I want to get out of this class is just making sure that I'm doing everything on the legal side of things correctly, and making sure that, because I feel comfortable, or more comfortable, with my interactions with kids, but I'd say this class is kind of nerve-wracking going in just because I haven't written an EP like most of us, and I just want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to make sure I'm the best at it.
So as we go through this class, if there's something that you think you want to know and I haven't addressed, say something so that so that you get your answers, okay?
All right.
Okay. Todd?
All right, Todd Gillespie Wichita. I'm at Gammon Elementary. It's right across the street. I just got an apartment very close to the school.
You have no excuse to be late.
I already told the principal that, and she was like, "Yeah, that's absolutely right." So, she's awesome. I could not ask for better administration.
Good.
Yeah, personal stuff. I'm starting over in a career. I've done everything from retail to law enforcement, and you would be surprised how similar this is to law enforcement. It's eerie. It's almost like kids stashing their iPads. It's like contraband or something. They're trying to hide stuff. But I love them to death. A single dad of a 6-year-old. I just want to make sure the IEPs, I want to be bulletproof on them to where I can just write them in my sleep. My mother was a special ed teacher too. So I've been around it my whole life, but this is a massive career change, and just want to be solid in it.
Much safer than law enforcement, I would say.
That's yet to be seen.
There are days you may wonder, but the majority of the time.
It's so much more positive, and when I see teachers that had a bad day last year being a para, I'm like, smile. I'm telling you, my best day in law enforcement is better than my worst day teaching. So I have a totally fresh, happy perspective right now, and I do not think I'll be one that gets burned out. So
I hope that's good. Okay, Rebecca.
Hi, I'm from Wichita, Kansas. I work at Bryant Opportunity Academy. It's a behavior school here in town, and I work with 4th grade PBS students. And so, kind of like what Drew said, I just really want to know the ins and outs of the IEPs. I've been around them, I've read them, but actually writing one is a new territory. So I hope to learn more about that.
Okay, and when I started explaining the parts of the IEP, everybody has forms that they're entitled. Each district or each cooperative creates their own form looking, that has additional things that they want on there. But there are certain elements that are required by federal law. Those are uniform throughout. But the way they look may be totally different. When we get ready to write the IEP, if the IEP that your district does is very different looking than the one that I have in the shell for you to use, I am just fine with you using a blank one from your district. That doesn't bother me a bit. Okay? Because if that's going to help you learn better, so be it. I'm okay with that. Okay? Okay, how about Tiffany?
I'm Tiffany Strickland. I've been in school for a total of 2.5 days, and some child shared their lovely cold with me. So now I have a sinus infection and I sound awful. But I'm in Meade, Kansas. And I've been a para for 3 years and stepping into a teacher position now, and excited about it. I was lucky to be a para in Meade before I became a teacher in Meade. So I know all the kids that I work with, but I really liked when you were talking about the book and the different techniques and stuff that it does. That's really what I'm most interested in. Like, I've got lots of help at the school that can help me write an IEP, and I need to learn that. Obviously, it's important, but I'm excited to learn new techniques to help students just a little bit more. Like, I have my ways of teaching, but to learn new ways to maybe reach them in a different way, I think is going to be really good.
Well, it seems like every year, because I taught for High Plains for 40 years. Every year I'd get one kiddo that was new, and it was like I needed something different for them. So you're constantly looking for different strategies. So I don't think you ever know it all. Yeah. By the time you get familiar with something better, has better research behind it, and you need to step up, or technology changes and you need to be able to use it. So, when you think you know it all, it's time to quit.
You think you know it all.
I think it's time to quit when you know it all, because you're not learning new ideas, and every kid teaches you something special. You want?
Yeah.
You want? Is that how you say it? I've forgotten.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Yuan. You want to say your name again?
Yeah, Yuan.
Ewan? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try. I'm not guaranteeing I'll remember it for next time, but I'll try, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, can you speak up a little bit or turn up your volume?
Yeah, the volume is all the way up. Can you hear me now?
Uh-huh, that's better, thank you.
Yeah. My name is Yuan Ramsdale, and I'm from Topeka, Kansas. And I work in the middle school, 6th grade math class.
6th through which grade?
6th grade.
6th grade, okay, at Topeka?
And yes, Topeka, Kansas. And I'm really looking forward to know how to write a correct IEP, because I know IEP is like close to 40 pages. We need to add it and make it perfect to help the students. So I know it's a lot of work, so I really want to know how to use some strategies to write the
Okay.
good
Just
IEP.
wants- I don't know, if you're having trouble here, she wants to learn how to write a correct IEP with the objectives. Okay, isn't that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. Becca?
I'm Becca Newsom. I live in Coldwater, Kansas, which is actually kind of close to Meade, as Tiffany said. I also was a para for 2 years, and I loved every minute of it, so I'm pretty excited to be the teacher and do what I've actually come to love, even though it was never my plan. I'm grateful that I know the kids that I'm working with. I feel like a lot of teachers struggle with trying to get to know their kids first, and I think I have the benefit to know who I'm working with, which is 4th through 8th grade. I guess I didn't say that, but I hope to get out of this class writing a good IEP. I've read some of them where they just don't seem adequate, I guess, of what compared to what I know of the student themselves and what it should sound like. And I want to be able to do it to the T and be compliant with everything else.
Well, during your first IEPs, your mentors should sit in with you and help in the meeting. I mean, they're actually if I had my druthers for you, I would rather your mentor sit with you and write your first IEP. You're looking over their shoulder, and that they run your first IEP meeting. But if that's not possible, that at least they sit there with you and help guide you, because it's easy to forget to talk about different parts. You know, and it would be really nice if you could watch your mentor do an IEP meeting, or somebody else on your staff. I mean, somebody to sit in on a meeting. Maybe it's a student that's going to come up to you later in, some year. But anyway, because the more people you see do an IEP, and the more people that whose IEPs you read, the better ideas you get. And sometimes there are hard issues that you deal with in IEPs, especially when you're talking about behaviors or significant learning problems. And being able to say it nicely and positively so that parents aren't crushed and hopeless is very important. And finding those nice ways to say and do things, sometimes that just comes from reading other people's IEPs and going, oh yeah, like we had a fellow who would always wrote in there, the kids were lazy. We'll talk about parents getting irate. Oh my God, that was horrible. So don't ever say a kid's lazy, because you don't know if they're lazy. So many kids build a wall around themselves of self-preservation. They don't let you see what they can or cannot do because their self-image is so unstable. They don't want anybody to know that they can't do something. They would rather look lazy, and they're really not. They're protecting their emotions. So anyway, so Kelly.
Hi, I'm Kelly Merritt. I am in Troy, Kansas, but I work kind of at the rival school, so I'm about 10 minutes away working there. I work with grades 3 through 6. I've only been a para for 1 year, and I originally got my undergrad in nutrition health last year when I graduated from K-State, and so this is completely different than what I thought I was going to do. So yeah, I'm looking forward to learning a lot in this class. I'm very new to education, so I think there's a lot for me to learn, especially with IEPs, like everyone's mentioned. Don't really know much about them, so I think it'll be good to be able to write them and learn all the aspects that go into them.
So do you have students on your caseload who have IEPs?
Yes.
So have you been able to read those IEPs?
Well, last year, the teacher I work for, she kind of showed me a little bit about each of them. So hopefully this year I'll be able to get more work with her on them. So
Okay, good. Okay, Jennifer?
I'm Jennifer Thompson. I am from Erie, Kansas. I work in Chanute, Kansas. I will be working Chanute, Kansas. I'll be working with grades 6 through 12. I've been a para for 4 years, looking forward to this. And I just want to know how to write IEPs accurately and hope that I'm able to fulfill them in these ways that have to be done.
Okay. Well, I think there are 6 people that didn't get enrollment all finished up that I sent emails to that I'm going to do a makeup session with later this week. So there will be, I think there's going to be, I want to say 16. They call you, by the way, they refer to your class as the Limited Apprentice License, the LAL group. Okay. So you're LAL cohort 4. You'll be together all the way through. You know, this is a pilot program from the state that Pittsburgh has a pilot they've been running. I think theirs has been long enough now that they were converting into the full program. But this is only Hayes' second year for the pilot. Because there was such a shortage in special education, if you had an education degree, if you had a degree, had been a para for a year, you could go through this program. Having that year as a para, I think, is the most important thing you can do, because your eyes are wide open as to what the kinds of kids you're going to be dealing with. I mean, anybody, as the special ed director I work with, that you're going to have for adjunct on your class. I think you guys meet tomorrow night for 801. Am I right? Or it's 810, 801, whatever the number is. Anyway, she always says, we can teach them to write IEPs. We can teach anybody to do the paperwork. It's harder to teach people how to work with kids and build relationships. Well, you guys already know how to do that because you've been parents. So you've got your naturals at that. It's the paperwork you have to learn and the legal stuff. But, you know, you've got the hard part down. You know, making sure that you've got, think about the little kids that have nobody that cares about them in their opinion at home. That, you know, and it's not that people don't care, but mama's going to work. If there's a daddy's going to work, or the other way around. They're trying to put food on the table, get laundry done, keep the house reasonably clean, buy groceries, pay bills, all that. They don't have time for their kids because they're so doggone busy. So you can be that person. Think about the quality of time you get to spend with those kids. You know, I think that's the best part of special ed. It's just the relationship building. And when you teach the older kids, like the high school kids, like I did for so many years, and you build those relationships, then they come back, or you get wedding invitations, or they come back to visit you because they want you to see their kids. Those are the best feelings on the face of the earth, because you know you made a difference in that relationship camp. So you've got to be that person for them. Anything you say or do that's not right can almost always be fixed. There's very few things in special education that cannot be fixed. So don't worry about making mistakes. That's part of life. The only things that you cannot fix are being late with an IEP meeting. That's illegal. You must. So you need to put those dates on your calendars now. And what I do, because I mentor new teachers, what I do is I have them go through their rosters for their list of students and their IEP due dates, and I have them put them on the calendar. Then I have them back up 2 weeks, sometimes 3, depending on whether it falls over Christmas or spring break or whatever. And I have them back up 2 to 3 weeks and write in notify parents, and I have the kid's name there, because you have to give parents 10-day notification for an IEP meeting, and so that's the system that I use, is so that I guarantee that I'm not late with an IEP. Because if you miss that deadline, you can fix it, but the way you fix it is you have to have 2 IEP meetings before school's out that year. And parents don't look kindly on that, and neither will your employer, because that means you're out of compliance. And out of compliance means they can lose money, which means you can lose your job. So those deadlines are really, really important. So go through your rosters this week if you have a roster, or your caseload, however you have it, and look at those due dates on those IEPs and get them in a calendar just to protect yourself. And then back up those 2 weeks and put them in that the parents need to be notified that you're going to contact them for your IEP meetings. That's the first piece of advice I would give you. So other than that, our next Zoom is next Monday at 8 o'clock, same time. And then we're not going to meet every week because I know you've got other things that you have to do. And if we're meeting on Mondays and 801 is meeting on Tuesdays, you've got to have some time in there to do the reading and the homework and all of that stuff. So we are not going to meet every week, but we'll meet at the beginning of every unit at least. Okay? So do you guys have any questions for me right now?
I have a question,
Okay.
but I need to talk to you personally.
So we'll just wait till everybody else. I'll stop the recording and wait till everybody else signs off, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, anybody else have a question that they can ask in front of the group? Well, I am really glad you're all here, and I really am looking forward to getting to know each of you personally. When I first heard about online courses, I thought, how do you get to know people if you don't get to see them face to face? And Dr. Moody is on campus, and he runs the leadership program for building principals and superintendents. And he said, you get to know people better in an online course than you do in a face-to-face course. And I kind of gave him a sideways look, and I said, I don't see how that's possible. And he said, in an online course, everybody has to respond to discussion boards, so you get to know the personalities there. And he said, in a face-to-face course, you have those people that sit in the back of the room that never say anything. And he said, you never get to know them. But he said, in an online course, he said, if somebody's being really quiet, you ask them a question. You get to know everybody better. And, I think he's right. I was really surprised, but I really like it. So anyway, I'm glad you're all here. And I'll see you next week, okay? Okay, in the meantime, stay safe and have a good week, okay?
Thanks.
Bye-bye.